the 10 material sense bases, ripa-adhyatana, and the real form that falls into the category of the sense base for dharmas, dharma-ayatana. Why does this consciousness not evolve as mind, mental activities, etc., and take them as objects? The transformation of defiled consciousness is of two kinds, transforming due to the power of causes and conditions, and transforming due to the power of imagination. The first transformation must have a function, and the second is always an objective realm. The transformation of consciousness that is retribution always obeys causes and conditions, but the form, etc., that transform from it must have a real function. If consciousness transformed into mind, and its activities, they would have no real function, because, as the seen part of consciousness, they would have no perceptual objects. Indeed, the real function of mind, etc., is born from the eighth consciousness. Nor does this consciousness transform into unconditioned dharmas, such as space, which also has no real function. Therefore consciousness as retribution does not have mind and mental activities as objects. When this consciousness arrives at the stage of purity, it is associated with a superior wisdom, and although there is no discrimination, still, since it is pure, we say that it has no real function. Still, however, it manifests those images of unconditioned dharmas, etc. If this were not the case, Buddhas would not be all-knowing.
Therefore in the stage of impurity, this consciousness as retribution takes as its object only the world receptacle and the body, as well as impure seeds. While in the realm of desire, kamadhatu, or the realm of form, ripadhatu, it still has these three perceptual objects. In the formless realm, arippyadhatu, it has as an object only the impure seeds. Because one is separated from form in this realm, one has no form resulting from action, but one does have form resulting from meditation, which makes sense. The eighth consciousness has this form as its perceptual object.
The term imperceptible, in Vasubandhu's verses, means that the mode of activity of this consciousness is extremely subtle and fine and therefore difficult to know thoroughly. Or, we may say that it is hard to know because the internal objects that it grasps and holds are extremely subtle, while the extent of the external world is hard to fathom. Why are the objects it grasps and the mode of activity of this consciousness difficult to know, and how do we therefore know that it even exists? Like consciousness that does not depart the body during the samadhi of cessation, of perception, it must be trusted to exist. You must admit that during this samadhi there is a consciousness, because the meditator is still classified as a sentient being, just as when the mind is functioning in a normal way. It is the same even at the final stages of the cessation of thought lin samadhi.
14. Mental activities associated with the store consciousness. With how many mental activities is this store consciousness associated, samprayukta? Vasubandhu says, in the 30 verses, it is always associated with mental contact, attention, feeling, conceptualization, and volition. From beginningless time up to the time of its final transformation, the Glaya consciousness in all its states is always associated with these 5 mental activities, because they are categorized as universal mental activities, sarvatraga-caitta.
A mental contact, sparsa, means the union of the 3, replica, and transformation, and it causes contact between mind and its activities and their object. Its action is to serve as a support for feeling, conceptualization, volition, etc. The union of the 3 refers to the conformability of an organ, an object, and the resulting consciousness. Contact occurs in dependence on these 3 factors. It causes them to unite and is therefore called the union of the 3. In a state of union, they conform to each other and have the power to generate mental activity, and this power is called transformation. Contact resembles the appearance of what is transformed and is therefore called its replica, pariccheda, because it is similar in power to the 3 transformed things. The power of the transformation of the organ predominates in the arising of mental contact. Thus the Abhidharma Samukha, etc., merely say that it is the replication of the transformation of the organ. The nature of contact is to unite mind and its activities and cause them to come into contact together with the object.
Being similar to the power of the organ, etc., to conform and produce mental activity, its activity is to be the support of feeling, etc. The Sutra of Birth and Extinction says, contact is the condition for such aggregates as feeling, conceptualization, and volition. This is why the scripture says that consciousness, contact, feckling, etc., are born as a result of the union of 2, 3, or 4 factors, respectively. As for the Yogacarabhyam Sastra saying that it is the support of only feeling, conceptualization, and volition, this is because volition is the dominant factor in the aggregate of the karmic predispositions, and thus to mention it is to include the other karmic predispositions. The Abhidharmasamukha says that contact is the support of feeling, but this is because contact is the proximate and principal factor in the generation of feeling. That is, the characteristics of agreeableness, etc., grasped through contact are extremely close to the characteristics of advantageousness, etc., grasped by feeling, and for that reason, contact is the most important factor in arousing feeling. The nature of contact is real, not fictional, because it is a mental activity included among the traditional 6 hexads, because it is categorized as a form of nutriment, and because it is one of the conditions, among the 12 elements of conditioned arising, praditya samutpada, just as feeling, etc., are, so it is not simply a conventional name for the union of 3 elements.
B. Attention, manaskara, has as its nature the arousing of mind, and its activity is that of directing mind to the objective realm. It arouses and awakens the seeds of the mind that will come into existence and leads this mind and makes it approach its object, hence, its name attention. Even though it is also able to direct and generate the mental activities, it is only said to direct mind, because mind is the principal factor. One explanation is that attention makes mind turn toward different objects. Another explanation is that it holds the mind fixed on a single object and therefore is called attention. Neither explanation is correct, because, in the first case, it would no longer be omnipresent, and, in the second case, it would not differ from samadhi.
C. Feeling, Vedanta, has as its nature the experience of objects that are agreeable, disagreeable, or neither, and its activity is that of arousing craving because it creates a desire for union, separation, or neither one. There is an explanation, by Sanghabhadra, that says that feeling is of 2 kinds, feeling objects, which means experiencing the object of perception, and the feeling of self-nature, which means experiencing simultaneous mental contact. Only the second kind is real feeling, because feeling the objective realm is shared by other characteristics of consciousness. This theory, however, is not reasonable, because feeling certainly does not have as its object the contact that is born with it. If you claim that it is called experiencing contact because it is similar to contact, then all results resembling their cause would be called feeling nature. Also, since feeling feels its cause, you ought to call it feeling its cause, not feeling self-nature.
If you claim that feeling experiences the nature of the feeling born from contact in the same way that a ruler consumes his kingdom, and is therefore called feeling of a self-nature, your reasoning is faulty, because it goes against your own doctrine of the impossibility of self-authentication. If you call it the feeling of self-nature because it does not abandon its self-nature, then all dharmas would be called feeling of self-nature. Therefore this explanation of Sanghabhadra only fools infants. However, the feeling of the objective realm is not shared by other mental activities, because the feeling of agreeableness, etc., which is unique to itself, is what we are calling feeling the objective realm, and this is not shared by other mental activities.
D. Conceptualization. The nature of conceptualization, samshvya, is that of grasping images of objects, and its activity is that of displaying and producing various names and words. When distinct characteristics, green, etc., of the object are established, then various names and words are produced accordingly. E. Volition.